From the beginning of time, humans have cultivated into communities, groups, and tribes, be that for hunting, agriculture, traveling, or even just to settle down and live out their life on the land. It's always been the case that culture and societal growth have always appeared around large groups of people in the same area, building a life for their community. But with this comes a host of problems. Say two communities with opposing beliefs and cultures decide to settle down on the same, larger area of land. Due to these opposing beliefs, it's reasonable to assume that these two groups wouldn't get along well. They might even fight each other a couple of times. And even as cultures and beliefs change as they grow and split off and move out of those opposing beliefs, the groups still harbor that hard hate for each other. And if they keep the opposing beliefs, but one particular person doesn't support their group's beliefs, they're still hated by the opposing community simply for being other. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the problem of the us versus them mentality. In the American political climate today, the various parties have developed an extremely strong sense of the previously mentioned us versus them. Terrible stereotypes run rampant, and it's impossible to say that you're a part of a certain political party without being berated by everyone around you about all the things they assume you believe simply based on the fact you said you identify closest to a certain political party. Because after all, identifying yourself to the Republican Party means you're an anti-mask, anti-vax, NRA supporter who thinks women shouldn't have rights and poor people deserve to stay that way. And if you're a Democrat, that means you're a Satan-worshipping, child-trafficking pedophile who's trying to destroy the country from the inside out. Because apparently logic goes out the window when it comes to stereotypes. But let's back up a bit. Why does this happen? Well, deep inside us is instilled an animalistic idea of tribalism and territorial instincts that, consciously or not, we all follow to some extent. I'm sure you can think of a group, small or large, that you have serious and personal disagreements with. For me, that would be something like the video games cause violence movement, or maybe the anti-vaccine or anti-mask movements. And I'm sure you have a few groups like this in mind right now. Now let's take a look at my specific examples and try to dissect what makes up these groups, starting with the video games cause violence movement, henceforth referred to as the VGV. Now, I already made a long video and research paper documenting why there's no link between video games and violence, but to sum it up, basically all links between the two are coincidental at best and sampling biased at worst. But let's take a look at the viewpoint of the VGV movement. To them, video games with violent themes such as Grand Theft Auto, Fortnite, Valorant, and others instill violence in children and make them more physically and mentally aggressive. And even though a lot of these games are played by a mature audience, there are absolutely no adverse side effects. Because there's a lot of truth that when it comes to young children, I personally wouldn't let my child play something like Grand Theft Auto, where a fairly common strategy is to pay for a hooker, then set them on fire so they drop the money and you don't actually lose anything. I don't want this to turn into another video about the VGV movement, but what I'm trying to convey is that even though a lot of these movements seem stupid and can be easily disproven, they're often the most extreme possible forms of emotions, beliefs, and opinions other people put into an echo chamber where they can just talk back and forth at each other and have the same things repeated over and over again. This makes opinions extreme and ridiculous. So let's take a look at something like the anti-mask movement. Now let me make this very clear. You should absolutely 100% wear your mask. It is essential if you want to go outside and do anything, at least when I'm writing this. Currently it is May of 2021 and the coronavirus pandemic is raging. The AMM states that being forced to wear a mask violates their freedoms, violates constitutional rights, and is a muzzle designed to force obedience upon the wearer. And while this is absolutely not true, they are again embodying the extreme version of a very real and valid opinion as part of a discussion about what true freedom means. And I'm planning to talk about that next week, so make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on it. I'll always be plugging. Now, even writing this, I've noticed that I've fallen into a pitfall of explaining the AMM and the VGV as one thing, and not even beginning to talk about the dozens upon dozens of branches they have. For example, someone might get labeled as anti-vax because they decided to skip one for the time being due to not having health insurance in a country without socialized health care. And the consequences of that mean that they are labeled as having dozens upon dozens of opinions on a wide variety of topics that they probably just don't have. And this is the us versus them mentality personified. You can label someone, put them into a category, and assign them beliefs, views, values, and opinions with no basis for it. At the end of the day, you don't know the person. You don't know what they believe, and you don't know what opinions they have, and you assume all of these, and assuming all these things is tantamount to saying someone is a certain religion because of nationality or skin color. Even if someone is part of a group you don't particularly respect, please don't be a terrible person about it. At the end of the day, they're still a human being, and believing something doesn't make someone bad. What makes them bad is their unwillingness to change and learn, or if they try to force their beliefs upon others. If there's one thing I want to leave you guys with today, it's that it's important to understand two things. The first being the power of forgiveness. Recently, there was a streamer known as Ice Poseidon who came under fire for making edgy and slightly racist jokes from VODs 2 whole years ago. Ice Poseidon has shown change, growth, and has apologized multiple times in the past for me. He's changed, so why do we have to bother him about it now? Second, is to try and respect people. Approach with compromise, compassion, and with a willingness to listen and to actually communicate. Because after all, how are we supposed to get anything done if we can't? Just let people do what they want, as long as it's not hurting others. And if it is, try to talk to them, and remember that they're a real human being with real human emotions. And if all you're getting out of that interaction is getting something to yell at on Twitter or a bad mood, that's not healthy. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. This is something I'm very passionate about, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sorry that this video is a day late. I had a terrible day yesterday. Yesterday absolutely chewed me up and spit me out. I had multiple anxiety attacks, so I figured it was best to try and push this a day forward so that I could give it the quality and attention it deserves. I'm also excited to announce a new series on the channel, Survival Sunday. Every Sunday, I'll upload a video explaining all the stuff I've done in my survival world this week and give you an updated world download. Alright, that's all for me today. Thanks for watching, leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Anyways, this has been Aaron, and I'll see you in the next video.